do you think that it's also because it's harder to measure? Everybody just wants to say, we spent X, we got Y, here's the outcome. Do you think that's also a barrier to why people want to invest less in that brand?
Yeah, 100%. Like the safe thing to do as a CMO is not to do what I just said. If you want to have a good reputation internally, typically speaking, if you do a great job of launching the new products, and like your homepage is like gets really into the detail of how cool the product is, the CTO is going to love you. The CPO is going to love you. The CEO is likely a technical product person who's going to love you. And what will happen is you will have short-term impact. Because you'll do a good job of like getting the existing customers maybe to spend more on those sort of things. But and so you might have a solid couple of year run where everyone loves you. The problem is that the company itself will peter out. And so because you fail to like go and match the market opportunity. And so yeah, it is, and to answer your point directly, yes, it's just easier down there because it's like you can measure really directly, certainly the impact that you're having on the existing customers with things like email marketing or in-app messaging and all of that. From a demand gen point of view, it's very easy to measure more of your kind of like lead generation campaigns and like sign-up generation campaigns. And therefore you can stand up from the CFO and he'll or she will love you as well because you're showing the ROI. And so, yeah, I think you're right. But you need like, the one here, I'll just say, and sorry, I'm waffling a little bit now, but what I've always said to my teams is like, as a marketing team, and this is most important for a CMO, you need to be the most financially literate person in the room so that you earn the right that when you say we're going to go invest in the brand, the CFO turns around and she's like, yeah, I trust you. And so I've spent a lot of my career like anytime I heard anything in a like board meeting, an exec meeting, like a term, I'm like, well, I don't actually understand that term, like NPV, how does that work? I'd go and I would learn it backwards. Spent a lot of my career figuring out how to like do detailed financial analysis. And so that like now, you know, our VP of Finance, Yvonne, he 100% trusts when I say we have to go and invest in this brand. We're not going to be able to measure it, the direct stuff that we're doing, but we can measure the overall impact of the campaign. And he's like, yeah, I get it. Like, I understand the need for it, and let's go for it. And so again, advice maybe for other marketers or more junior people coming up is like, you need to be as financially literate as, this is a hard one, but it's possible, be as financially literate as the person in strategic finance or FP&A or whatever team it is that you're working directly with. Learn Excel. So do people use Excel anymore? Learn Google Sheets. Because it'll stand to you. It'll stand to you through your career.
Yeah. How do you, so with all that in mind, how do you justify demand generation when it is difficult to measure? I think it's difficult to justify a huge expenditure over a long period of time without that kind of feedback loop. You need to kind of go all in, like, okay, we're going to invest in brand. We're not going to see the impact of this for another 12 months to, whatever it is. I guess a couple of questions. Like, firstly, how do you approach that? So that's a really big, I mean, you've seen some of these big companies like, I don't know, ClickUp, Monday.com, everywhere you go, it's full of like the top of funnel brand. Well, actually not all top of funnel brand, but they have a lot of output. How do you approach that problem and how do you scale that machine?
Yeah. Honestly, I think everything is measurable. It's the degree to which it's directly attributable and the degree to which it's a direct response, meaning you'll see it immediately. So let me explain. A paid search ad, somebody searches for web design software, our ad comes up, they've got high intent, they click on it and they sign up. That was a direct response, because it was immediate, and it's directly attributable. We are directly able to say, go, click, sign up, good job, paid search. That's pretty easy. Now, yeah, you can get into the whole conversation about attribution and, one-touch attribution versus multi-touch attribution. Honestly, in B2B, I've done this so many times that that argument is so overstated. Like typically the number of touches in the patch conversion is pretty low, and therefore a single touch is like fine. One level up would be uh, indirectly, not directly attributable direct response. So that would be, um, let's say you've got a podcast ad running where it's got a very clear offer to sign up with some sort of like discount, whatever. You want somebody to take a direct response. It's not directly attributable because it's a podcast ad. You can't see the person click on it. Those ones, it is absolutely possible to measure the overall impact of the campaign by doing like holdout groups. So what you can do is like say, let's do a big push in San Francisco. Let's see what happens with our branded search volume or traffic from San Francisco to see the overall uplift that we're seeing from the campaign. And you should be able to see it because it is more of a direct response, even though it's not directly attributable to that specific like ad. And therefore, the conversation with the CFO is like, hey, here's the overall impact of the campaign. Don't ask me which specific ad like really drove it. And then the really hard ones are the not directly attributable, not direct response, right? So it's something like imagine like your investment in like comms. Let's say you have a 5-person PR team, and they're helping get just like build your authority pre-IPO, getting you coverage in various places. Like it's extremely long term, very difficult. So therefore, it's not direct response. It's not directly attributable. You can't see what it's driving. Those are like the really hard ones, and arguably like even TV and those sort of things. If you're doing, depending upon the message, is like in that category as well. Those are the
I mean,
ones
here
where
now as well, Shane. You're also on this podcast right now. What's the
this
ROI
is an example. This is
of this
example. No
hour?
one's
Yeah,
gonna, no
indeed.
one's gonna be able
What
to
are you
say,
doing
"Oh,
here, Shane?
I watched James thing on Oprah Media." But those are the hardest. But like, what you want to see there is that over time, that you can track things like your branded search traffic and the trend in it, and you do want to see that over time, as you're investing in those things, that is starting to increase, particularly in like maybe regions that you have a bigger focus in. So that's where really the head of finance and the company need to like just buy into it as a important part of the strategy, and you use a certain amount of judgment in the short term. But that is by a distance the hardest to measure.